digital business reputation. So how to protect and enhance it. That's, for me, that is a kind of a key to success with a digital business at the moment. So my name's Lee Woodman. So I run a consultancy called Visit Digital. So we kind of specialize in digital strategy, data analysis, and basically digging into the kind of guts of the business and see what commercial opportunities exist inside there. So as a summary, I'm kind of all in on the impact that reputation has on your digital business presence. So there's been various algorithm tweaks made by Google over the years, and one of the key ones was kind of the introduction of something called EAT, so expertise, authority, and trust. And I think the impact that reputation has on everything from conversion rate to, Google search rankings to, anything to do with how customers interact with your website is a fundamental thing which quite often gets missed, or perhaps not paid as much attention to by businesses. So we're going to kind of look at how reputation is articulated on websites and what the kind of dials that you've got to improve and tweak to make the most of it. So if we're looking at, whether it's e-commerce or lead generation, so customers are exposed to, whatever it may be, whatever your product is, and there's going to be certain triggers to get them into that kind of the buy cycle. So there's a lot of exploration and evaluation before purchase. Now, the reality of what this looks like is more like that. So there's a lot of noise happening for consumers throughout that journey. So, we need to give them some anchor points which they can latch on to see our quality as a brand and ensure that, what we're doing is reputable, customers are having good experiences with us, and hopefully we get them down into the basket, or, that they generate a lead with us, or whatever this goal might be. So, the average conversion rate to either sale or lead or any kind of action that we're generally trying to get people to do on a website is about 2%. So, if we're selling or we're getting a 2% conversion rate on our website, we only need to convert or convince an extra one person to do something, buy or generate a lead, and we increase our conversion rate or our revenue by 50%. So we've got to nudge one in the other 98 people over the line, and there's tactics that we can use to do that, and reputation is one of those levers that we can pull. So these are the kind of influencers. So when I say purchase, it could be e-commerce, lead generation, whatever that goal is, these are the dials that we've got to tweak. So social proof is a pretty massive part of that goal, or that journey and influence nudge that we give people. So, when we go to Amazon or we're browsing websites, before we make a purchase, if we see something as 1 star and there's 100 people have given it 1 star, it's unlikely we're going to take a chance to buy that product, because I think human nature is that, we don't particularly want to fail at making a decision. So, we just need to be, we need to think about the impact of this on users. So, there's plenty of other things that we can tweak. This one is probably one of the most powerful in the kind of arsenal that we have. So anything that we now do online, we want to be thinking about how we convey expertise, authority, and trust. So 3 metrics or 3 things that can influence people's decision to do something with us. So any kind of content you put out, any, whatever that might be in terms of your business, think about expertise, authority, and trust. So if you're getting a new website built, Simon, I think you're in the process of doing that. people don't always come in on the homepage. I think you had about 6 or 7 different landing pages for the different types of product that you have. So people are going to be coming in directly to those pages. So you want to make sure that at every step on that website, you're conveying, these 3 things. Okay. So we need to think about how people actually visit our websites. As I say, they don't always come in by the homepage. So this is a brand that I built with a company I used to work with called Car Buyer. And we, 1% of that audience is coming in on the brand name. Okay, 1.6% is using that phrase or that brand in their search queries. 98% of those people probably never heard of Car Buyer, but they're searching for things like Ford Fiesta review or Ford Fiesta MPG, interior, whatever the search term is. It doesn't include Car Buyer. So when somebody lands on there, we've got to sell them the kind of brand experience, because they haven't searched for our brand. They've never been exposed to that before. So using the non-brand search, we've got a lot of convincing to do when they land there, that we're trustworthy, we're experts at what we do, and we're an authority in that space. So, back to this process where we're trying to help people make a better decision at this point. And, those kind of expertise, authority, and trust definitions in our experience are super important to get people down this funnel. So, exploration often involves a search engine. So if it's a new topic or you want to learn new things, we go to a search engine and we do queries. So if I search for bunk beds, we got Argos, we got IKEA, 2 brands that we recognize pretty well. But both of those, when you actually get to their websites, they don't actually articulate their EAT very well, because they're well-known brands. They don't they're trading off their brand appeal. We know if we go to Argos, we're not going to get the best quality, but we're going to get a product. Same with IKEA. And, the vast majority of consumers that are searching for this query don't necessarily want a high-end bed, versus that one, Happy Beds, Cardiff company, not one of my clients, but I always use them as an example. They are pretty new in the space. So they've only been going 3 or 4 years, may or may not have heard of them, but they have a lot to do in this space, because if I search for bunk beds, never heard of Happy Beds. So they have to build trust with me very quickly when I get there. Versus if we go to page 2 of the search results, we've got this brand called Flexaworld. Okay, so they're also selling bunk beds. Another brand that I've never heard of. Okay, so this is Flexaworld, right? So bunk beds. If we take a step back and think about what is being conveyed here, it's not very much. It looks like a quality product, but there is nothing saying other people have had a good experience with this. So there's no 5-star reviews. I don't know where it's made. Does it come with any kind of guarantees? There's none of that information conveyed. Versus this is Happy Beds. So again, I've not landed on the homepage. I've landed on their bunk beds page. So a sub page or sub product or category page in this instance. But look at all of the subtle, might not call it subtle, but elements which are building trust pretty quickly. So, we're already talking reviews. Let's not pay attention to that bit. But we've got 8,500 customers that have had a 5-star review with this brand. Okay, it's made in Britain. Can't see what that says behind Zoom, but track your order, 5-year guarantee, free shipping. Free shipping is one of the biggest influencers of purchase for UK consumers. So, each of these elements, I've literally just landed on there. It's my first experience with the brand. There are things on there which are giving me confidence to take the next step with this brand. what are the chances of me being one of the 7 or 8,500 people that doesn't have a 5-star experience with these guys? Probably pretty low. Yeah, so it's very, very important things that they're conveying to keep us engaged and believing in their brand. Yeah, so what's the commercial value to your business if you actually take these steps? Because it's all well and good me saying it, but what's the actual commercial value in doing that? So, and again, this is kind of e-commerce focused, but we work with a lot of e-commerce and lead generation and publishing brands. The same principles apply. You have to articulate your expertise, authority, and trust in whatever you do. So Google conducted a large-scale shopping experiment using real in-market shoppers to simulate 310,000 purchase scenarios across various industries, including financial services, consumer packaged goods, retail, travel, and utilities. And so in the experiment, participants were asked to choose their first and second favorite brands within a given category. So then various biases were introduced. So think about our levers that we were talking about previously to see if people would change their preferences from one brand to another. So the experiment also included a fictional brand in each category, allowing us to test how people would respond to a brand they'd never heard of before. Think car buyer, think Happy Beds. Yeah. So, again, 98% of the audience has never heard of us. These are our things that we can dial. So they dialed social proof, authority bias, and I think it was power of free. Okay. So the results show that even the least effective challenger, so a fictional cereal brand, still managed to win 28% of the shop preference from the established favorites when it was supercharged with benefits, leading 5-star reviews, 20% discount or 20% free. And the most extreme case, a fictional car insurer took 87% share of consumer preference when supercharged with, those 6 biases. So it works basically, and we see it working time and time again with the brands that we work with. So there's you've got to be there's moral elements to it. It's we see brands put 5-star reviews up when they haven't necessarily got those, or they influence how they're showing 5-star reviews, but kind of ignoring the 3-star ones. So it definitely works. So what if you have a mixed reputation? So look, one brand we work with in particular, they're a bit reluctant to put reviews on their website because one half of the business, for reasons which are acceptable in my opinion, their product gets delayed for certain reasons. On the other side, they've got the more consumer side, which very good reputation, but they're kind of conflicted because they don't want the side which quite often gets negative reviews impacting the other side. So, and it's probably a good reason when you see this one as to perhaps why they would do that. So there's a concept with Google called your money or your life. And this is things like e-commerce, financial services, pensions, that kind of stuff, where the information that Google gives you has the potential to impact your life, basically. So if Google serves up a website that, robs all your money, that's directly Google's kind of responsible for that. So they're very sensitive to what they'll give consumers. So this is a brand that we've been working with quite a while. So 2021, they pivoted into a new space. They're very high risk YML health space, and their reputation up here is probably like 4.5 out of 5. And then an event happened here, which is kind of out of their control, which was around how their products were being delivered. The delivery of the product was very, very time sensitive, and the delivery company couldn't handle that. And their review score went from like 4.5 to, I think it was 2.5. Now, bear in mind, they're in the YML space. About 2 weeks later, this happened to their Google search rankings. Literally went off a cliff. So at this point, they weren't asking their consumers for reviews. So what happens if you don't ask and people seek you out to review you is that the chances are it's going to be negative. It's always a much higher chance that it's going to be a negative review. So these weren't asking for reviews. So the people who were coming were kind of organic, so it was a 50-50 scenario. So we went on the offensive with our review strategy. So we started asking people, we asked all our clients after they'd had the product, can you review the service? And, our Google search rank, so our score went back up and our Google search rankings followed suit. Yeah. Now, it could be, other reasons for this, but it just correlated exactly with we're high risk YML. Google probably, was like, hang on a second, these guys look a bit dodgy. Our review score tanked and then improved, and our search rankings follow suit. So, I think I think it worked, put it that way. So, you can see here this purple line, so manual invitations. So we started asking consumers to review our products actively, versus you can see the uplift in organic reviews. This is people seeking us out to review, went through a clip, it rocketed up here. So yeah, that's an interesting one. But that is a reputation is something that in the first instance, it was kind of out of our control. We had to manage that situation. We did it ethically, and we just asked everybody to review us, basically. And so it was a much more balanced opinion of the business rather than a niche set of customers that were having issues. So what causes a poor mixed reputation? Many, many different things. Delivery is a classic. So the product might be really good, but you're stuck with your delivery company who can't deliver, and then the brand becomes associated with poor delivery times, and reputation goes down the pan. So customer service is the other one. So delivery and customer service, again, the product doesn't necessarily, it's not related to the product necessarily. So you need to monitor your website and infrastructure. So think about Google's visiting your website pretty consistently. So in some instances, multiple times a day, they're sending their robot in to check. You might have new services, new products. You might have released a news article. So they're pretty consistently coming in and checking. So this website went down pretty much every day at 5 o'clock. Turns out that their web host would do a backup at 5 p.m. in the afternoon, and that would kill their web server. And this business was a restaurant. Now, 5 o'clock, people finishing work, they're potentially phoning you up. Well, they can't get on the website to get your phone number to book your restaurant. So, and they were just completely unaware this was happening, because it was a very small period of time, but it happened every day at the same time. So websites go down quite often. So yeah, you need to be the first to know that. So you can use something like SolarWinds, which is Pingdom, or Uptime Robot to track that. And web developers are not the most forthcoming with telling you when their website goes down, especially if they're responsible for managing the the kind of server infrastructure. So yeah, you need something impartial in the mix there, really. It's kind of related to the other one. We assume our website works, so we audit a lot of websites technically, and believe it or not, 50% of those we audit have some issue with how visitors make contact, engage, or transact with the business. So one particular website, the phone number was wrong, the email addresses didn't work, and the web form didn't work either. So pretty impossible to get hold of them. Yeah, so it is money on the table. So this is Harvard University. You can't actually get to their contact form. So that survey is listed just on the right here, and that's Harvard Uni. So we see it day in, day out. So, potentially 3 people on the call, at least one of you is going to have an issue with how people contact you from the website. And that's so test transactions or test inquiries, fill forms out, and that's kind of a monthly thing, really. So consumers will hit things twice, they'll delete stuff, re-enter things. So go in there and give it a hard time and try and break it, because consumers will break stuff. They'll do things which we just don't expect them to do. Especially if you're connecting systems. So I don't know, maybe your lead form goes straight into HubSpot, for example, or Salesforce, or whatever that is. Make sure those connections work. If you're on WordPress, make sure your apps, when you do an update, check your forms. That's quite a classic one where an update's happened and it's not worked, or it doesn't work since. And then, this is e-commerce specific, but if you have a system which handles your stock or your inventory, or say it's a university where they pull data in from external parties to populate all their courses, does that actually still populate? So websites which have like an ERP, so you've got a separate system which is handling stock inventory, which is synced up to your website. Just make sure those two things actually sync. With quite a large e-commerce client, which key times of the year, Mother's Day, Father's Day, their systems kind of didn't sync properly. So it's 10 grand down the pan over, for them it's probably a couple of hours, because the website was saying out of stock, but the ERP was in stock. And it's a ranking factor. So stock levels, that is definitely, in our experience, we see that as a ranking factor. If you've got something, somebody else hasn't got it, and they're ranking above you, at key seasons, we see that switch happen. So that's an important one. So review strategy. So, as I said, you've got to be quite proactive in how you seek reviews, because it's very important from a service perspective and a product perspective. If you're a service business, then you'll be actively going after the service kind of review platforms. Trustpilot's probably the most common one for that, and reviews.io. And then FIFO is more product and service related. We see this one with a bit more of our kind of fashion clients. See this one with our service clients. And then generally you're asking them for a review automatically after they've engaged, or they bought something, or a certain period of time has lapsed, where get them engaged, get the feedback. Even if it's bad, well, you'll know it's bad and you'll try and improve it the next time. If you've got a competitor which has already got reviews, it's worth actually going to look at what their negative reviews are, because then if we see with new businesses, where go and have a look what the competition is doing, why are they getting negative reviews, and you build in that kind of fix into your business. So that's quite a common scenario. How you react to your negative reviews. So Trustpilot, all these things are related. Google search, Google is definitely looking at Trustpilot. It's actively seeking out reputation to understand where it should rank people, especially in YML spaces. So you can see here, Twitter, Trustpilot is showing you how many times this company's reacted to their negative reviews. So, and then if you Google your brand name, so if you're a big brand, well-known online, your brand search might account for a significant portion of your traffic. And you can set up something called My Business, which is like your Google business listing. And in there, you've got your Google review score. This particular button, specifically that one, can drive between 1 and 6% of total digital revenue. So if you've got that button on your website, on your My Business listing, you can add some tracking to that to see how much interaction this has. But a lot of brands they forget to search their brand name in Google. And what that page looks like is what your clients are going to see as a first interaction with your business. So, if your review score is 1, that's bad, So, managing this is pretty important, considering that button is responsible for this much revenue interaction, whether you're lead generation or e-commerce, doesn't matter. I've made a note there, fill it all out. There's a lot of information you can put in this platform. So start date of your business description, product listings, service listings, type of business that you are. There's a lot of info that can go in there. So just think of it like you're defining your business entity, and Google likes to correlate entities together. So that's quite key. Let's have a look. Yeah, you can see it in situ. And so Nason's trading, bang, it's lit up because there's a lot of colors on it. So it draws the eye. So you can see why that button is so important. So, and you got your money or your life. So we kind of touched on that earlier. So Google has the Google Rater guidelines. I mean, this fundamentally changed my take on what we need to think about a website being. So this is Google employ about 10,000 people to sanity check their organic search results, and they don't directly influence the search results for that query that they're given. But if they're consistently reporting the car insurance keyword is broke, I don't know, there's new listings appearing or whatever's happening, you can pretty much guarantee that's going to feed back into the algorithm in some capacity down the line. So this document is about a 200-page doc of what they're checking for when they look at a website. Things like, for a shopping website, we'll do special checks, so contact information, policies on payment, exchange and returns, and then reviews and reputations. It's actually saying that in this document. So again, it's an official Google document. Research on the reputation of a website. So this is Google talking to their, or instructing their quality raters on what they need to be thinking about. Use reputation research to find out what real users as well as experts think about a website. So look for reviews, references, recommendations by experts, news articles. So Simon, if you're in this space and you're a market leader and you're being talked about on various different platforms, don't be afraid to, hey, go and we've been cited in some research or whatever that might be. And then the other one is be a detective. So inside here, detective. So this is finding about us, contact information, customer service information. Those 3 things are pretty important to people when they're researching brands that they're going to either work with, buy from, or interact with in some way. So contact information is so important. Google's saying here, be a detective. So actively go and find that information. If you can't find it, I'm interpreting that it's a problem, So, and one of the reasons was the payday loan companies. You could borrow money off them straight away, but if you phone them up or you tried to phone them up to talk about your loan, they just didn't exist. They just couldn't get hold of them. So they got nailed by that. So, and it makes sense if somebody's buying something from you and you're hiding your contact details, that's a problem. So yeah, and then make it easy to get hold of you, customer service, help. So the definition of YML, some types of pages or topics could potentially impact a person's future happiness, health, financial stability, or safety. So if you fall in that category, and that includes e-commerce, that is you want to be thinking about, especially managing your reputation digitally. Yeah, here's some examples. So news, current affairs, government, civics, finance, shopping, health and safety, groups of people. You know, you can think about fitness and nutrition. There's a lot of stuff goes on in nutrition that, you know, dodgy. Choosing a college. So yeah, all that stuff. If you're in there, be wary of what you say. You know, if you're making a statement, our product is the best, then, you know, who's saying it's the best? Is it independently referenced? You know, you've got to be able to back it up. And then kind of another example of a website. So they're articulating a lot of things, you know, so the UK doctor reference, I mean, this is a legit website, their pharmacy registration. So if you are, say, an architect, or you've got third-party accreditations, link out to those. Yeah, you know, now you've seen what I kind of shown you here. You can't unsee it when you go and look at another website. But if you look at your own website and, you know, you're not conveying some of these kind of important metrics, then, you know, it's kind of an opportunity missed, really. So this website it got nailed by the Medic update. This is a Google algorithm update here. Very high risk YML. Overnight went from 25 grand a day to zero, pretty much, in terms of revenue, and took a very, very long time to recover because it didn't articulate its EAT, and it was a very high risk health brand. Versus this one, direct competitor, opposite effect. Yeah, so these guys just took huge market share because they were doing it right, basically. If you've got a mixed reputation, and this is, I think, where one of my clients is a bit wary, is, you know, if you've got a mixed reputation, so we have a very high page quality rating standards for YML pages, because low quality pages could potentially impact a person's happiness, health, financial stability, or safety. Basically telling us there, you know, if you are not articulating your reputation properly, it could impact your SEO performance. Yeah, often the results of product queries are YML. So users need high quality information from authoritative sources when researching products, especially when products are expensive or represent a major investment. So yeah, they need a good reputation, extensive customer service support. So Sean, I think you're pretty hot on the customer service side of things.
Yeah, and we've got the Trustpilot score to match. We're 4.9 with over coming up to 5,000 reviews now, and yeah, we've got really good SEO as well. So
yeah,
what you're saying is, yeah, hits the nail on the head.
Yeah. So if you're creating content, so Google's asking you, every page belongs to a website, and it should be clear who's responsible for the website itself. So, you know, what company or person or brand is behind it, and who actually created the content. If you are a graduate writing information about why people have heart attacks, you know, it's not going to cut it. You haven't probably got the experience to warrant writing that kind of content. So think about how whoever's writing your content, you know, are you able to cross-reference them and demonstrate their expertise? You know, they could be a grad, and they could, I don't know, they could be a world-renowned heart expert. You've got to say that. You've kind of got to cite that research and cross-check that information. So yeah, so high EAT medical advice should be written or produced by people or organizations with appropriate medical expertise or accreditation. Equally, if you're talking about a technically advanced subject, yeah, you've got to be qualified to say that. This is kind of how Google, this is called the Google Vision API. And you can kind of see, this is just a picture basically, but you can see how they're extracting this information out of the website, whether it's a picture or text. So you can see out here, I mean, this is just text, but just kind of giving you an example. They don't have to crawl the website as we kind of perhaps think that they do. They can extract information out. This is an above the fold view. So we're looking at the landing page without scrolling. So think about the information that is sitting above the fold without having to scroll down. It's very important, I think. So they're able to kind of extract what is sitting above the fold and what's not, in my opinion. Yeah. The end. Any questions?
No. That was awesome. Thanks, Lee.